Good day, everybody. Today I will be covering the formative in Module 2. Okay, so kindly note as a disclaimer before we jump into the session, I will skip some of the questions that we have previously covered in our class discussions or where you can find the answers in the slides or even in the guides. Okay, so the first question says, question one says, research and explain the concept of sampling methods, types, and techniques. So if you remember in my discussion, I presented four different sampling types or techniques to you in the class discussion. You just have to provide them back to me as an answer, and then explain each of them in a little bit more detail, and then you'll get 8 out of 8. It's quite straightforward. You're also welcome to select four different or alternative sampling strategies or methods. Okay, that is also an acceptable practice or acceptable approach to this question. Okay, let's go. Question two says, explain the difference between quantitative and qualitative data. This question was covered in the summative. It also was discussed at quite some length in the class session, so I will not be covering it again. Activity 3 says, what is a literature survey and explain the role it plays in secondary research. So we spoke about literature surveys and how it's practically the same as a literature review. But remember that in secondary research, we're looking for existing information, existing data. So you'll find that when you're doing secondary research or secondary data research, your literature survey is often a further anchoring point for your research. It provides your secondary data with additional support. Okay. There are many other practical reasons why, or there are many other reasons why the literature review is important in secondary research. Okay, let's keep going. Number 4 says discuss how an argument is formulated and the objectives are defined for a selected research topic. So you can give me a research topic as an example, and you can tell me how the argument was formulated for that research topic, and then how the objectives were built based on the argument. Remember, all our arguments start with the key thesis statement. So just remember that. Make sure you include that in your answer. Okay. Number 5 says select a business issue that you will be investigating for the next 3 questions for 1 mark. Okay. 5.1 says, what are some credible sources you can use for your investigation? So remember, we had several different places you could find information, several different places you could use to provide your research with credibility. So that's what you're looking for in this question. I don't have to go into too much depth because it was covered previously. 5.2 says, what are 5 criteria that you can use to ensure a source is credible? Just go look at the slides. It is all there already. Okay. 5.3 says present your research findings and include the following: an introduction, the key findings, recommendations, and a conclusion. Okay, so it's very important that we provide basically a mini research response. It needs to be about 4 pages long. You need to add citations to this, and it needs to be based on that business problem or business idea or business concept you've selected in question activity 5. Okay. I'm going to keep going. And number 6 says outline the importance of data analysis in business. Remember, I showed you how data plays a role in many aspects. And if you go back to the slide, you'll see it played a major role in several different departments. So we were looking for that. And when we say outline, they don't want too much depth or too much detail. So if you provided me with 10 points on the 10 different areas that data would impact a business or data analysis would impact a business, then you'd get your 10 marks easily. Okay, activity 7 says explain how you'd go about grouping findings. So remember, grouping of findings could be done in a thematic way, it could be done in a statistical way, it could be done in an objective way, it could be done in many other different ways. It all depends on what the purpose of the research is. What are you trying to do with the research? What is the goal? What is the end goal? So think about that and use that in your explanation when you talk about grouping of findings. Okay, number 8 says, why is a conclusion important in research? This was covered in some depth also in the class discussion. But remember that the conclusion is our last chance to leave a lasting impression on the person who's reading our research. Okay, so we try and make it as punchy, as snappy. We also try to make sure we summarize the key points of our argument in that conclusion paragraph. Okay, so that's what we're looking for in our response here. Um, Activity 9 says discuss how to present a well-structured argument on a business issue. So we've discussed building a well-structured argument in general. Now we want to focus more on the business context, on business issues. And this would be a great space to bring in those persuasive devices I spoke about in our class discussion. So think about that. Think about how you can include those in your answer here. Okay, activity 10 says what are the 5 different ways that data can be analyzed. So just literally give me 5 different ways. You don't have to explain them in depth or detail. Just tell me what the ways are. Okay. 11 says, what is grounded theory methodology in the context of research? So I want you guys to look in the guides. I want you guys to go and do further research and see what you can find on grounded methodology. Grounded methodology is a popular practice within the space of doing research, and you'll find a lot of information, and it has formulated some of and produced some of the greatest insights that society has received. But this is only for 5 marks. So just tell us what it is, and explain its use in research as a methodology. Okay, let me keep going. So in this question, they want you guys to read an article. So there's an article about challenges of doing business in South Africa. So they want you to read that. And then once you're done reading it, you answer the question. So 12A says discuss and analyze the above current business situation. So we're looking for that definition of the current states. Remember, in my class discussion, I spoke about the 3 states. So tell me about the current state that is presented in the article. Okay, then it says outline the purpose of this analysis. What is the point of doing a current analysis? Why do we do this analysis? Why is it important? Okay. Number 13 says select one of the challenges identified in the article and provide a solution that will aid in dealing with the challenge in a short, medium, and long term. So you're going to get most of your marks from dealing with the short, medium, long term premise that is provided in the question. But remember, we're also looking for a solution. So if you provided good solutions for the short, medium, and long term, it will be a lot easier to give you full marks for this question. Okay, number 14 says outline the role and importance of objectives of analysis, taking cognizance of their functions and value to an organization. So remember, this question is all about the importance of objectives, and why is it important to analyze the objectives that we've developed, that we've produced for an organization? In essence, you want to measure your objectives to make sure that they align with the strategic goals, with the vision for an organization. Think about how it plays a major role in how a business operates and how they set a direction or set course for a business. And that's basically what we're looking for in the response, the important role that objectives play in an organization. Number 15 says provide criteria for setting objectives in an organization. Now, unfortunately, this is only worth 1 mark, but it's worth 1 mark because I've provided you with the criteria. So just go look for them. I'm sure you'll find them quite quickly. Okay. Number 16 says, what are some of the different gap analysis methodologies? So I believe I provided you with 2 different ones, but there are many, many different ways we can do a gap analysis in organizations. So just give me a few. You can even use some of the ones I provided you in our discussions and in the slides. Okay, just give it to me and explain them. What are they? How do they work? Okay. Number 17 says, conduct a gap analysis on your respective organization or another business of your choice. So they want you to do the gap analysis. They want you to complete the tool that you've selected. Okay, I've presented you guys with one that would be easy to do in this question. So just go back and look at the slides and look at the gap analysis tools that I provided you with. There's one in particular that would be great for this question. Okay, but I'm not going to give away any answers. So I hope you figure it out. I hope you find it. Okay. Uh, Number 18 says, explain what a needs analysis is. Remember, if we're going to do a needs analysis, we're going to identify exactly what is required, what this organization needs to move forward, what it needs to churn a productive revenue, or what we need to do to produce or improve productivity in an organization. Okay. Um, then 19 says, use the business format specification and write a short report on the current challenges faced in your organization. Okay, this is for 20 marks. So what you want to do is you want to follow the previous template we've presented you with. So where we said we wanted an introduction, a body, your findings, and then a conclusion. You can use that to guide you. And then if you do it that way, each section will be worth some of the 20 marks. So what I want you to do is think about how you can best obtain 20 out of 20. If you break down your answer and you add little marker allocations to each of the sections, you'll guarantee yourself that you get the full marks. And then also make sure that you use citations. This question strongly requires it. So make sure you put the references in there. Okay. Um, let's keep going to the next question. Number 20 says, what is the importance of developing a business plan in an organization? Okay, remember, business plans are used to implement a new strategy, to provide a new sense of direction with an organization. It is also used as a foundational starting point for any organization. So there are many reasons why these plans are important, and I have also explored them in more detail on the slides. So look for that. And if that doesn't help you, also just do a little bit of research, see what you can find online that can give you a little bit of guidance in terms of responding to this question. Okay, 21 says provide reasons why good communication are essential when implementing a business plan in an organization or department. Remember, I spoke about synergy. Departments need to work together. And if they're working against each other, you're not going to get anything done. This is the answer we're alluding to in this question. You need to provide something along those lines. Okay. 22 says provide reasons why leadership skills are important when implementing a business plan. Okay, this was covered in quite a bit of depth, but you'll find that your leaders provide us with the strategic direction. They also provide team members with motivation, with guidance, with continuous support to get it done. They play a pivotal role in driving home business plans. Okay, I'm going to keep going. So 23 says provide reasons to consult staff, management, and stakeholders when developing a business plan. There are many reasons, and I did talk about this in quite a bit of length. So just go and look at the session recording and look at the slides. You'll see it's there. 24 says explain which organizational departments can contribute to different components of the business plan. Again, this is something that was discussed at quite some length. So I'm going to expect you guys to figure this one out on your own. Okay, 25 says explain the ways to communicate content of a plan to staff, management, and stakeholders. My apologies. So remember, we need to now we've developed the plan. We need to communicate it. This is quite simple. How would you communicate anything? There are many different ways you can communicate this plan. Are you going to share it via email? Are you going to have a meeting? Are you going to present it via PowerPoint? How do you want to present it? Tell me what kind of approach do you think would be best to present a business plan? Okay. Um, Number 26 says research and explain change management methodologies that can be used to implement a plan. There are many different change management there are many different change management methodologies. There's ADKAR, there's Kotler's model. There's so many. So what I want you to do is to present one and tell me how that can be used to implement a business plan that is about to change or shift an organization. Okay. 27 says explain how KPIs can be used to motivate employees and to implement this plan. Okay, in this answer, we're looking for a connection between the business plan and the employees, and how will you use the KPIs to be that middle ground? Okay. 28 says discuss how to monitor the implementation of a business plan for 6 marks. Pretty straightforward. We're just looking at monitoring. Okay. 29 says, what are environmental factors? There's literally a slide that tells you about it. If you want, you can also present the other ones. You can provide me with VUCA, or you can provide me with PESTLE. Whichever one you want to provide, it's a lens on the environmental factors. I'd accept it. Okay. 30 says, how would you manage changes in a business plan? Okay, this is linking back to change management. So how would you manage the changes? Tell me exactly how you do it. Okay. And that is basically all the questions for this formative. You'll see at the end here, I have work cited. So I demonstrated how to do references in one of the classes. So at the end of your work, I want to see this work cited. I want to see your references because there are going to be marks allocated to this. So be cognizant of that. Okay, I hope this video helps. I look forward to seeing your work submissions. Thank you, everyone. Take care.